Canterbury Bankstown Council. Councillor Barbara Corey. Questions. Why did Council fail to follow the explicit advice provided by Heritage New South Wales?
11:17.
Thank you, councillors. In relation to questions 1 and 2, firstly, the reference to the constituents' letter not being actioned is incorrect. The letter was formally registered by council, and the Mayor provided a written response to the constituents outlining council's June 2023 resolution regarding the matter, and that the subsequent information provided by the constituent would be considered as part of the ongoing review of the matter, and it informed further heritage work as part of council's Bankstown CBD planning proposal. So what did happen in June 2023? Council resolved, as per the staff recommendation, which I have here, which was as follows. The council notes that under council's delegation for making an interim heritage order, it cannot apply for an interim heritage order for a second time. But it went on with a point 2 that council notes that the Heritage Office of the Department of Planning and Environment has noted it would not place an interim heritage order on the St Paul's Anglican Church site, and recommended that council consider heritage as part of the Bankstown City Centre Master Plan. It went on to point 3 that council investigate the significance of St Paul's Anglican Church site at 459 Chapel Road, Bankstown, as part of a heritage study to include all previous reports in accordance with point 2 of the recommendation. It went on to point 4. Council requests the Department of Planning and Environment to exhibit the heritage study together with the Bankstown City planning proposal post-gateway. And 5, the matter be reported to council following that exhibition of the Bankstown City Centre planning proposal, including a response to the proposed heritage listing. That happened.
Sorry, can I just appoint, if the CEO would take this point on board, the question as published on this business paper refers to a report signed by Sue Rosen and Jeff Ashley dated 26 October 2023. There is no reference to June 2023. With all due respect, I am aware of that history, but the specific question is, why was the jointly signed letter by Sue Rosen and Jeff Ashley dated 26 October 2023 and addressed to the Mayor not acted upon, formally registered for action by the planning staff, or tabled at a subsequent council meeting for councillors' consideration? That is my question to you, sir. Can you please answer that question and not give me the history of the matter? That is my question. If you're unable to answer the question, please state. But Mr. Mayor, I have the right to ask that question. There is no debate.
You've already asked it and he's...
But he's giving me June 2023.
Councillors, I'm going to continue with my response.
Sorry, but that's not a way for the CEO to answer.
I won't go back to the start. I hope everyone was listening. This was months before...
Yes, I understand. But I'm asking you about October. Sorry, Mr. Mayor, it's not a point of order. My question's about October, not...
Councillors, the question was asked, the answer has been given. This was months before the joint letter of 23rd of October 2023. This was months before the joint letter of 23rd of October 2023, by which time much additional work had been completed. In fact, Council's review of the heritage significance of the item was well advanced and was to be reflected in the Bankstown Master Plan planning proposals post-gateway exhibition materials as resolved by Council in June 2023. Thus the relevance of mentioning that. Now, a planning proposal must be sent to the New South Wales Government's Department of Housing and Infrastructure, or DPI, I'm going to refer them as, and it must issue a gateway determination or a gateway certificate approving public exhibition and engagement. They spell out the conditions of proceeding with a planning proposal, and this is important because You all know that we never got a gateway certificate, but I'm going to get to that in a moment. Councillors who were elected in the last term may recall an 18 April 2023 email from myself to all councillors in response to information being reported in the newspaper about this same issue, and a July 2022 letter from Heritage New South Wales. In summary, it was clear that staff supported the position of Heritage New South Wales, and that post-gateway, we proposed to exhibit updated heritage information. As I said, before the letter came in and post that resolution was well advanced. We were going to exhibit that with all other relevant information and new heritage information, including that provided by Sue Rosen and Co. As part of the formal planning proposals gateway exhibition process that was going to happen. This was supported by council resolution. It's a matter of public record. It happened in this room. But as we know, as you know, council was never given a gateway approval by DeFi. That's why this matter did not come back to council for its consideration. We didn't get a gateway approval, and that has been well discussed and traversed by this council many times. The pathway to both identify an item and have it heritage listed can only be initiated via a change to the Canterbury Bankstown LEP. That was precisely what council was initiating when formulating its Bankstown CBD master planning proposal. Councillors will recall that in late 2023, the New South Wales Government announced that the Bankstown City state-led accelerated transport orientated development precinct meant that the New South Wales Government via DeFi took the planning proposal off council and it became their planning proposal to develop and also determine, including determining all heritage and planning matters being considered by this council at that time. We didn't get a gateway approval, so we didn't get to exhibit, we didn't get to share our heritage work with the community, and we didn't get to make a decision because DeFi took all this away from us to determine themselves. Council, of course, provided all of our additional heritage study and additional work and all the information from the authors to DeFi to inform their decisions. Based on our work, they exhibited their draft rezoning, noting that St Paul's was proposed to be listed as a heritage item. The New South Wales Government did that based on our work. So I repeat, DeFi proposed heritage listing based on the additional heritage work that council did to indicate that the joint letter was not acted upon is entirely false. DeFi exhibited a draft LEP for the Bankstown CBD, including the St Paul's Anglican Church as a heritage item on page 21 of their explanation of intended effects, which can still be found on the DeFi planning portal. As councillors are aware, DeFi finalised their accelerated TOD, or the LEP changes for the Bankstown CBD, by making unannounced surprise changes. One of them was rezoning our West Terrace car park to open space with no consultation. Another was removing their proposed heritage listing for St Paul's with no consultation. We did not ask or want these outcomes. They were done by DeFi without explanation, and we still don't know why. Only DeFi can answer those questions. As for the question, what was the operational or planning justification for failing to initiate a review of the 2016 decision, please let me be very clear. In April 2016, council staff recommended the following. So council staff recommended the following in 2016. Council prepare and submit a planning proposal to the Department of Planning and Environment to list the St Paul's Anglican Church site at number 459 Chapel Road in Bankstown as a heritage item in the Bankstown LEP 2015. Council voted against that, against the staff recommendation. It's council's right to vote and resolve how it wishes on these things. It's not a matter for staff to initiate reviews into the voting decisions of councillors where their democratic right has been appropriately discharged. In relation to question 3, again, to be clear, council did not reject the advice it had received from Heritage New South Wales. As stated above, the advice from Heritage New South Wales, which outlined the significance of the site, was supported by council and followed through with additional work, which was provided to DeFi as part of their accelerated precinct work. In turn, DeFi exhibited their draft rezoning, noting that St Paul's was proposed to be listed as a heritage item based on our work. And DeFi made the decision subsequently to omit the listing in their final plan, and it's a matter which should be directed to them to answer. And in relation to the last question, a reading of the recommendations supported by Council in its 27th of June 23 ordinary meeting clearly demonstrates Council's commitment to reviewing the heritage of the St Paul's site. The information provided in my response shows Council was not only committed, but it did the work, and DeFi used that information to exhibit a draft LEP amendment that included the listing of St Paul's based on our work. Clearly, Council did not omit St Paul's. Contrary to Council's recommendations, DeFi ultimately determined to omit the site when finalising their state-led LEP for Bankstown. Council was not responsible. It wasn't engaged by DeFi prior to finalising their plan to exclude the site's heritage listing. Despite questioning DeFi, they haven't provided any specific planning rationale or basis as to why they ultimately omitted this item from the LEP. Perhaps the constituents should have separately approached DeFi and asked them the relevant information and what their rationale is.
Thank you very much. All right, councillors, that was the last item on the agenda. I declare the meeting closed at 10:09.
TOD Heritage Response. Council's position on St. Paul's heritage listing being unclear. Council, as the local authority, is most appropriately placed to consider any local heritage listing. Both New South Wales Government and CB City Council washed their hands on St. Paul's heritage listing and saving for developers. After 10 years toing and froing, St. Paul's will be bulldozed.